Next item on the agenda is 3, discussion and action items. Number 1, update on the outdoor peddling, vending from public and private property outreach meetings.
Yes, there's been a lot of movement on this particular topic over the course of the last couple of weeks. What began as you saw the last meeting, seemed to be a fairly simple, well, as simple can be, discussion around a particular group of peddlers, and the discussion about that expanded into other council districts besides District 5, having encountered different problems than the sale of fresh fruits and vegetables. So part of what you voted on the last time was to co-host a series of public outreach meetings that would occur in the month of April that would assist the city as we kind of look at how to change the municipal code in relation to peddlers, and the discussion centered around how many feet away from a residential area to the cost of licenses. That's what the commission heard last time. So the idea has kind of expanded into a different discussion. Last Monday, not this Monday, but the Monday before last, it appeared that, and I was not here at the time, I actually was taking a few days away. By the time I got back, there were a series of actions that had occurred, and a council member introduced a discussion at the Rules Committee having to do with a particular area of the city in District 5 that had issues of enforcement around peddlers. And by that I mean San Jose. There was some discussion about San Jose PD going out there. And actually, what appears to have occurred was that there was some enforcement around that in front of a church that didn't center around the issues that were brought here in the commission, but rather a more expanded discussion around enforcement by the county health department. So some of you may be aware of that discussion. The Rules Committee evidently last Wednesday had quite a few folks in attendance testifying to this new action that Councilmember Carrasco had introduced. So a couple of things have occurred. The community meetings are still going to be happening. The meeting that was scheduled for the 28th, I had to cancel because there was some discussion around Sunshine versus Brown Act and confusion on certain rules that I wasn't aware of. And so we had to cancel that meeting. We sent out notices to the council offices in the web page for the city. We rescheduled that particular meeting for City Hall on April 18th. And you'll be receiving notices. We're finishing up the flyers right now. But District 5, where the original discussion had occurred, centering around what the Health Trust, who did public testimony last time, that is going to happen next Tuesday, the 14th, over at the Mayfair Community Center. For some of those of you that attended the UAS discussion, that's the same location we had back on February 14th. That will be, once again, to focus on the issue of gathering community input into the peddlers licensing, the actions that were discussed earlier. However, now that there's a different action that's occurred, now I'll bring you up to speed on that. I give you a copy of what went before Rules today. So April 14th, that coincidentally is also the evening that the boards and commissions recognition event occurs here at City Hall For those of you that should have received invites, because I've been checking with folks, and it looks like other folks have, you didn't receive any?
No.
Okay, the clerk sent out invitations and you guys have been on the commission for quite a few years, so I'm not sure what's occurred, but it looks like it might have been hit and miss. What I'll do is I'll send out the invite that I received late last week. So it looks like the notification from the clerk's office, I'll talk to them about this because some of you got them and it looks like others didn't. That's going to occur on the 14th at 5 o'clock. In between council sessions, I believe that usually it happens in between the council takes a break, comes and meets the commissioners, and then goes back into evening session. That evening also, we'll be starting the discussion on the peddlers licensing at 6:30 at Bayford Community Center. So for those of you that can attend the reception and then come over, that would be terrific. If you can't, perfectly understandable. These dates had to be set up in order to accommodate a response to council. And so they're driven by the availability of staff and also the fact that this seems to be taking on a different momentum. We have the meeting on the 18th, which will be that weekend, and then I'm working with the Baskin Community Center to do one at the end of April, either the 27th, 28th, or 29th, but they're shuffling classes around to make sure that we do that. That'll be in District 6. And the reason it'll be in District 6 is because of the fact that District 6 has its own unique problems with, as you saw from the testimony last month, with peddlers and the issues they're creating in their area. So those are the dates of the public meetings. As soon as the flyers are finished, I'll send them off to the commission. There is a hot off the press paragraph that I put on the table here. It's called Street Vendors. That's the title at the top. This is the language that was sent to Rule when it was originally presented to you last month. So that's the update. It's not a complete project yet. It's taken on a different focus. It still has the original focus, but it's with the possible suspension of the peddler permit fees, regulations, things like that, enforcement of that. That kind of addresses some of the immediate concerns. My understanding is in District 5. And that's all I can speak about in relation to my understanding of it. I know that the issues around county health really were the focus of the enforcement by San Jose PD, and that there is an issue that's arisen from that community about the fact that the places where the enforcement occurred, which is the church community, is saying that with the peddlers, you know, this is their only way of earning a living, and why are they being targeted? So those are the issues that are occurring right now.
So I'm a little confused here.
As am I.
Are we talking solely about the whole fresh fruits and vegetables vendors? Why is that why would the health department get involved with that? I mean, the banana's a banana. But then you said all vendors, so does that mean the taco trucks and the...
I think it's expanded to, my understanding is it's gotten a larger focus. That the wording that is in this, that went to rules today, is different than what existed a month ago. And so it's become an expanded area of outreach. And so I think it'll be up to the CMO staff that's dealing with this to kind of lead the discussion and gather information, potentially in general, and also at the same time the focus on fruits and fresh fruits and vegetables. So it's going to be a larger gathering of information.
Okay,
If they suspend enforcement, is there still going to be oversight of peddlers, or, I mean, there's some safety issues and other things?
I'm worried about the health department, county health.
you've got two entities here. One's the county health department and one's what the council can control. And the council can control the city ordinances on this. Well, actually, there's a different discussion going on about is it an ordinance or is it a public policy? And that's being thrashed out at a different level. So,
Norma?
I just wanted to say there's been quite a discussion on Facebook, and there has been, and I cannot remember the name of the Catholic priest off the top of my head, who is actually leading this and asking for the suspension, and it was a city employee whose name I really cannot remember either, complained on Facebook about the vendors who used to be at, I believe, Our Lady of Guadalupe.
that's correct.
Okay? And so there's been a whole nother avenue created from the humanitarian side, and for a lot of discussion about the viability and the inability for some of these vendors to even survive, and that they, you know, this has been their bread and butter for years. So there's been, if you get in Facebook and Carrasco's, even her postings, there's been really quite a big discussion on this issue.
Yes.
Question, will, before there is a community outreach, will this be boiled down to a fairly clear and succinct list of issues and questions, as opposed to a discussion about many things that are hard to view how they fit together?
That discussion is occurring between the attorneys right now, and it's moving moment to moment. Like I said, the reason that Anjali Gaeta, who's leading the effort, wanted me to share this with you today was to try to give you a little clarification about how it's expanded, and rather than simply modifying it, they're considering to suspend enforcement. So things have changed radically from the time that you had the March presentation when it focused strictly on this particular project, which impacted a few vendors, to now what Commissioner Callender is talking about. That's included in the discussion now, which is the enforcement issue in front of the church. And then to be sensitive also, there's the bigger issue that Will Glenn is looking at, which needs to be taken into consideration. So it's gotten to be a larger discussion. So anyway, I will seek, as I'm seeking to clarify myself, exactly what is the short answer to what you're asking.
Yeah, one more. I believe the name of the priest is Peddling, Father Peddling, and he's actually looking at establishing a trust fund for these people if the city continues to want to charge them. And he's talking about the police coming and raiding it and closing it down. And so, yeah, get on Facebook. There's been quite a discussion.
So as kind of the new person in on this and was trying to understand what the issue, thank you, David, is what actually is the problem statement that we're trying to solve for. And I think that would be helpful, because it's impossible for anybody from the public trying to figure out what is it we're trying to do, why we're going to have a community meeting, other than just being kind of a venting session. And I think it actually to have some structure. And is the rules memo then on April 1st the starting point, or it sounds like there's now a different background paper?
Yeah, Commissioner, I think that's exactly correct. This is all moving from today, from last Monday. It's all been moving quite rapidly. So what we all thought was a simple discussion focusing on a few peddlers now has increased in terms of the outreach that you're being asked to gather. So as the parameters are going to be defined between the attorneys and the CMO staff, I will pass that on, and I I will have that before we meet on the 14th.
Well, I guess, because my concern would be is if we're being asked to go off and be the moderators and kind of convening and bringing testimony in, it's kind of nice to know what it is we're trying to achieve with that, rather than just being the cannon fodder. And either, as a commission, we should be formulating concepts around that and then taking that out to the community and testing it, or if there's somewhere else the administration's doing with that, for the administration to kind of package that together, create the white paper, and then for us to take that forward.
Like I said, at this point, the clarification I'm working on getting, because even the wording for the flyer, I have to be clear, was it, originally we were talking about private property. Now we're talking potentially about public and private property. So I'm trying to get those wordings correct as we put together the, here's why you should come. So that's why I'm saying I need to solve that problem before we get to next Tuesday.
Yes.
If may I, so just because I've seen this ordinance before, and I'm trying to jump all the really technical aspects of the question. I believe that the peddler permit ordinance encompasses all of the issues and that were mentioned. So, but the thing that happened before was that we were looking at a very specific carve out in the ordinance where there are specific rules for just fresh, uncut fruits and vegetables. So that is underneath this peddler permit ordinance, and now these greater questions encompass all of them. So the question is, how is this overall ordinance going to accommodate or fit all the issues that we were hoping to solve, or you all are seeking to solve?
Dave?
During the UAS discussion, there was a comment made, well, to get this right, maybe we could move it a little bit. Is there some way that might apply here, that until this picture of what is moving and what is in play solidifies a bit, that we move it until that's more clear?
I'll bring that up. But like I said, the schedule originally was moving along with the dynamics of staff wanted to collect the information on that small specific, piece of that carved out section. Now that everyone's reacting and trying to make sure that they accommodate both the council with the larger suspension versus the health trust and the project they're working on, the answer that I was given today was we're moving forward with the public comments because it can accommodate what we need. The questions haven't been formulated yet, so I'm waiting for that. So the answer is I will check.
So I noticed the timing, we're having a meeting on, the first one is on the 14th, and then this goes before the council on the 21st, and then our other one is after, so we're kind of interlinked here.
Yeah, that I can't speak to. That I don't know. The gathering, it may go to the council, but the way it's written is that no action can really be taken until the committee input is gathered and then the recommendations are put together. So there you go.
And just a little bit of background for you too is that last time a number of vendors came. There's specifically one group that is selling whole fruits and vegetables under a program to have healthy food for high school, for high school children. And then there's another group of people from Willow Glen were complaining about vendors selling everything on private property and dropping litter on their things, which seemed to have nothing to do with the fresh food vendors. So I was telling them, it doesn't even impact you, so why bother to come? But now it sounds like they will be connecting. So maybe it is a good thing that there's going to be a meeting in D6, since that's where some of the people are having those problems.
I mean, I'll bring back the comments to staff tomorrow from what the concerns of the commission are. And what I'm trying to do is also gather some information to get some answers, because I'm being asked, why is the wording this way on the flyers, and the attorneys are asking, well, what's the clarity on that, and what's the ordinance? And so I'm kind of, in the middle of trying to pull all the documents that validate what the actual wording should be in reaction to this new thing that emerged Monday before last, so. Anyway, that's as clear as I can make it right now. I notated the questions you want answered, and if it turns out that they want to reschedule things, or maybe this new motion is going to require that we move things around in order to accommodate this, I'll let you know.
So with the drone thing, we collected public input, an unmanned aerial system thing, we collected public input and then drafted a set of recommendations which we sent to council. With this one, there's already policies out there. Are we supposed to collect input from people and make recommendations to changes for this?
I think
Is that what the input is?
that's my understanding of what originally was suggested, was that if there were, the group was asking for particular changes to the municipal code. The
50-foot setback from residential rather than 100-foot, and
change the fees.
cost of the fees
And
instead of
length of
being
time
500.
and all that.
Sorry,
Right.
large number for 3 years, have it 1/3 the number for 1 year.
Yeah, so the commission's not been asked to support that one way or the other. It simply has been asked, can you help us do the community output, because you've done a great job, and this affects all the neighborhoods. And so that is what they came through and asked. They're not asking for, yes, please make recommendations that'll go to the mayor and council. So in this case, it's a different ask, not asking you to go ahead and do community input and create your own document. They're simply saying, we recognize that you represent the neighborhoods, and we'd like you to assist that in reaching out to the neighborhoods.
Will somebody else be collecting the information then?
No, not my understanding.
So we're just opening the halls, have people talk and nobody listens?
So,
I don't believe I would say that's correct.
Quite that way.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out what the output would be.
so are we ready for a motion? Well, I just, kind of how it's framed, and I kind of hate to throw it out there, but is that the commission's motion is that we not participate in that if we're not going to have an active role in actually helping formulate the solution, defining what the problem is. We shouldn't just be a convening body.
Like that. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a discussion. What do you think? I mean, I'm kind of feeling that way too. I mean, what is the purpose of this? If we're hosting this and somebody else is going to be if we're co-hosting and somebody else is there too and they are collecting the information, that is one thing. If they're not collecting the information, then all we're doing is giving the people a chance to speak, but if it doesn't accomplish anything, what is the purpose?
well, what I'm saying is, no action was asked of you when they came and talked about this, because it was an issue out in the neighborhoods, and that's legitimate because you are Neighbors Commission. I think as far as the motion goes, there's nothing to prevent you from taking any action as you go forward in the process and decide, well, we've listened to enough testimony, we would like to say something. There's nothing that says that you can't do that. But I think that as you look at what the responsibilities and roles of the commission are, everything you're doing, you don't always create an action for it. For instance, when you listen to the discussion on fireworks and other activities from PD and Fire last June, you didn't create a motion to council to say, we validate, we think you ought to fund this more, or whatever, or continue it. You listened because you wanted to go out to the neighborhoods, and you were asked to go out and say, this is what's going on. So the duties and responsibilities of the commission are to work with certain areas, the 4 that you have, and then to take that on in whatever shape you decide. Your ultimate mission is to give advice and policy recommendations to the mayor and council on issues defined by quality of life in the neighborhoods. But not everything is going to require an action. So anyway, but you can take an action. You got a motion on the floor right now.
Right,
Yeah,
and bring in discussion.
And I think the distinction here is that, it's clearly within our mission to go to the neighborhoods and gather input on an issue that's been raised. And once we've gathered that input, the question
Matt,
is,
we
do
can't
do-
hear you. There you
Once
go.
we've gathered that input, the question is, do we do further recommendations based on it? And I think there will probably be times that we go out and we don't hear a clear message coming from the neighborhoods, but we've been asked to talk to them, and that we may come back and say, these are all the things we heard, but there was not a unified, clear message. But then again, we may say, come back and say, we heard there are a lot of underlying issues here that need to be investigated further. And I think, it's a good example of we can conduct the meetings, hear what people have to say, and then make our formulation. Are we making a recommendation based on this?
Just a second. So I can see with the fireworks, it was information from the city that came down to the neighborhoods. We disseminate information, and we can collect information. With the drones, we got information from the community and send it up to the city. Now, if we are co-hosting it, so we help the neighbors get together with somebody so that they can get the information, and we are a catalyst to help the community get together. If they are not going to be there and it's just us opening up a hall and say, come and talk, but we're not taking any notes and nobody's going to listen to you, that is what I was worried about.
Well, as I've said, when this originally was itemized, no action was asked of it. If you go through the process and decide to take an action, that's up to you.
Well, the last meeting, we had presentations, we had a set of parameters that were outlined, okay? We had something to get our arms around, and then we were gonna go out, we were asked to go make some community outreach meetings, and we were going to do that.
Yes.
They were scheduled, and they didn't happen. But we had something that we knew was a known entity. Now that has changed. We don't know what the parameters are now, and to reinforce what you said, we go out there and just get input on what? We need some structure, we need something that we can show guidelines, what's gonna happen, or what's existing, what's proposed, so that people can comment on that and get input that we can evaluate. I don't think we have that now, with these changing parameters.
Marie?
When those people were talking last meeting, it seemed to me that they were asking the city to lower their cost or their permit cost. And they seemed like they were checked out. But then the other issue that came up were all the vendors who aren't checked out. I think if we have this meeting, why can't the public health department come with a person who does this enforcing, who knows how to, get, that would be a focus. That would be something that we could learn what, I was worried when they were talking. I mean, even fresh fruit, needs to be washed. When I bring fruit home from the grocery, I wash it before I cut into it. And so it bothered me that the public health department wasn't a part of their discussion last month. And I think that we could invite them to come. I think that would be worth it.
Yes, Norma? You have a motion on the floor, I'm just reminding myself that.
Yes, and this is just a part of the discussion. At the meeting last month, we were all handed a proposal that the city had established as to the fees.
Yes.
And how they had bifurcated some of the fees and made it so they did not have to pay it all at once. Right now, after listening to Ernest, and after seeing all of the chatter and concerns and recommendations on Facebook, it looks like what we need again is for the city to do what it's got to do. It just looks like everything right now, we're at a tentative point and we don't really have anything to call a public meeting. We need more solid information. Ernest said himself that he is still waiting for information to come. So why should we make a sound recommendation to establish an ad hoc or to even attend a meeting or even to call the public when everything is still tenuous.
David?
To the motion, and if you could repeat it?
That we do not host a meeting until what time, if we're not having any input.
Without clarity about what it is, the problem statement is, and what the purpose of the meeting, and our role in that meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well said. If the commission hosts a meeting and the public shows up with positions, concerns, passion, and such about different aspects of this, and we cannot be prepared with the health department, the PD, the city of San Jose, the city attorney, and the litany of folks that have stated this, then what is the appearance of our value there? A little adding to the confusion.
Robert?
Yes. Has the question ever been asked, how do they secure the fruits and vegetables? Are they locally grown? Are they imported? But from where? I believe that for that reason, the health department does have to step in and make sure what people are buying is safe and healthy. So that's my point.
Okay, and I don't have an answer to that. I mean, nobody asked that question when they were here.
Right.
So I just call the question that we will not host the meeting on the 14th or any time until what time as we figure out
What it is we're supposed to do.
what we're supposed to be doing. So I think it is, I'm getting the consensus that it's kind of premature to be hosting something in 6 days if you can't even get the health department done. I mean, they have to get notice in about 2 days. You have to figure out what it is that we're going to be doing. And you can't figure that out in time.
Well, it has changed, there's no question about that, so
So
I'll take
come
this.
back next month when you have better things for us to do. I guess we don't want to go through all the effort of meetings if it doesn't do anything. At least that's my impression, so I guess I'll call the question.
And I would just add the one comment, because you really got thrown into a bad situation, Ernest, so I recognize that. But it's, I think as part of delaying this a month or 2 months, if the council's going to go through and suspend enforcement, really the pain piece to the vendors stops. And so there is not a pressing need to go through and have to do this really quick. Well, let's go through and kind of do it in a rational basis. That's why I made the motion the way I did.
So I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? One opposed. Okay, so, sorry Ernest, we will not co-sponsor the April 14th meeting.
Well, that's fine with me, I have to facilitate.
We just wanted to go to the awards dinner.
That means we can go to the
We wanted to go to the recognition dinner.
All right, so there's one vote against.
Yes.
All right,